You're locked into the Saturday Night Sweat, the home of Circa Survivor updates, picks, and all-around strategy. Buy, sell, and swap your entries at survivorsweat.com. Are you still alive?
Welcome to Saturday Night Sweat, our final episode of the season. But if this is your first time joining us, want to let you know we are a Circa Survivor podcast. We dive into everything from strategy to projections, all sorts of talk, everything about this contest, which we're all very, very passionate about. My name's Tony Farmer. We've got producer Nick here. We've got David Baker and Mike Buckmiller here to talk about the numbers that were just released from the VSiN studios. Not any huge surprises, gentlemen. But let's dive into it. We've got two folks on Minnesota, one on New England, one on Cincy, one on Atlanta, one on Jacksonville. Gentlemen, I think the only real question coming into today was where Kick Your Knees Up was going to land, because they had the option of maybe going Philadelphia, maybe going Cincinnati. That's my take on it. Not any big surprises. We'll start with you, Mike. What are your takeaways here? Any big surprises for you?
Yeah, I mean, Kick Your Knees Up has been kind of pretty silent in the Twitter universe, or social media, if you will. So, you know, they weren't out in front. And so I think for them to be able to sit back and kind of see how the week unfolded, and Minnesota is just continuously getting steamed up in terms of the betting market. I think we're up to -8 now, maybe 8.5 as it looks. And so, you know, it could have been Cincinnati for them. I don't see any other spot other than Cincinnati and the Vikings. Yeah, I know we discussed Philadelphia, and 3 weeks ago, Philadelphia was a really live spot for them. That said, when Philadelphia starts making verbal concessions about sitting, obviously Hurts, and now sitting Goddard and various other players on their team, you never know how those things are going to play out. And so, of course, their line continuously fell throughout the week. So no surprise that it was going to be between Cincinnati and the Vikings at this spot. And once JJ McCarthy has been announced now that he is the starter, and some teams, you get that feeling that they want to leave and they want to go into the offseason with some positive momentum. You know, obviously the Vikings are one of those. Their defense is playing well. Their coordinator is now coaching for either more money or another position. And you have a quarterback that they don't know what they're going to do with long-term, and he's trying to prove his worth. And so although the Vikings are out of playoff contention, it feels like they're playing to cross the finish line. And so for me, if it was between the Bengals and the Vikings, that's where I'd be.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the Packers will be throwing out third-string quarterback Malik Willis will be sitting as well. David, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show that there have been people in this contest that have been out in front and talking with other contestants and potentially making deals and trying to get ahead and get not only their EV, but the EV for everybody kind of up. I think this just kind of shows that Juicy K and Kick Your Knees Up have both been kind of silent. I think they're the two people out of the final 10 that really were silent. I think that if they had worked together, they probably could have found a better EV solution for their two teams than to be on the same side. I don't know if Juicy K maybe had a better option, or maybe there was a way to split some equity and maybe Kick Your Knees Up takes a different option. Or maybe even tries to bully the Cincy player from going somewhere else, or I don't know exactly what could have been done, because it's been a very hectic week with New Year's and everything. I didn't look at every scenario, but I feel like this was probably not the best EV play for them both. That being said, there is the biggest hedge opportunity for Kick Your Knees Up by taking Minnesota, and maybe if he either didn't want to or didn't have a way to reach out to Juicy K or whatever, then possibly this was just their way of maybe creating the largest middle that they could. But I think it just goes to show, kind of props to some of the other I mean, props to everybody for getting here. Obviously, it's a dream come true, and they're all going to be able to monetize it in some way, shape, or form. But I think definitely props to Galen and Chris and some of the other people who have kind of been out in front of things. Even some of the people who've been eliminated, CP3 and V, and some of the other ones, they kind of got out in front and found ways to better maximize their EV, while at the same time dragging other people's EV up at the same time. So I don't know if there could have been a better solution for Juicy K and Kick Your Knees Up collectively. But my gut says there probably was, that this probably wasn't the best option for them as a duality.
Absolutely. And I kind of buried the lead at the beginning. We have Real Bro coming on the show. Casey from Real Bro. He's going to be on in about 8 minutes. He's one of 6 left fighting for that $18.7 million. David, you mentioned how people are taking kind of different approaches. A couple of the entries you mentioned have been a little quieter, not announcing their picks. You know, Kick Your Knees Up. A lot of people don't even know who the heck that is. Very mysterious. Right. When you're in this position one day, and I say when because I believe you will be, David, at some point. You play this enough years. Are you going to be kind of out front, making deals, very public, or do you think there could be some advantage to sort of being the mystery man at the end of this?
Well, I mean, I think information is key in this, and I definitely, I mean, obviously, I come in here and I give my perspective on things, so. You know, it's not financially beneficial to, you know, for Mike or you or me or any of us to come in here and give our strategies. But, you know, we've chosen to try to build this community and be a part of that. And that's, you know, that's the route that we've chose. So obviously, I assume that that's the route that I would choose if I got closer. I also think that it's just better EV wise. I mean, I think Galen, one thing that he did say is multiple times is, yes, what the information that I'm giving you and the numbers that I'm giving you and the advice that I'm giving you will benefit me, but it also will benefit you. And he talked about some of those things in earlier weeks and again this week, where he was publicly saying, I will take either one of these teams, just don't dupe me. You know, he's like, because he understands how that at one point you are hurting, you know, you trying to hurt me is also hurting yourself, and me trying to help you. We're all trying, like we can all maximize, or not all, but you can find segments of the group that have a different or maybe path that will benefit, you know, multiple people. So I definitely think that I have learned, which something that I already thought ahead of time, is that being out front of it is a beneficial strategy.
You know, there's one thing I'd like to add to this, and I've talked to Russ Rosenblum with my partner, and sometimes not sometimes, but most of the time poker players get this stigma about looking to like gain this huge advantage and to swindle, and they're not saying the truth, and that they're, you know, they can't be trusted. And listen, my Russ, albeit a poker player who's been at the final table of the World Series of Poker, is a chairman of the bank. And there is nobody vetted more in the world than a chairman of the bank. Like literally, you have to be vetted. And so this poker player has this stigma, but also poker players, as David will attest to, are some of the most honest people in the world. Like they don't burn people. They don't double cross them. And sometimes when you hear in the Twitter community, oh, these guys are poker players and they're out to do X, Y, Z. They're actually trying just to maximize their position, as David stated, and they're also trying to help other people make money along the way in some way, shape, or form, because, you know, they play in tournaments that aren't winner take all. You know, I mean, it's different at a cash game or you're playing in that realm, but some of the most honest people I know in the world are poker players, and they have this stigma that that's not the case. And so when you're just a contest player, and the next thing you know, you're trying to make a deal with a poker player. It sounds, you know, different, and they have this guard up in front of them. And in fact, maybe those are the people you should be talking to the most, because they're the most honest people that I've met in the world, or some of the people that I sit next to at a poker table, and people that I met through the poker community. And again, I'm not even as in depth as David is in the poker community, but I promise you, like, that stigma should go away, and it should go away fast.
Well, I mean, math is math too, and Galen was very upfront, and I'm an acquaintance of Galen. I mean, I know who he is. He knows who I am. We've talked a few times, but I wouldn't say that we're friends. But he told me, he's like, look, I know that this benefits me by having this person on this team, but it also benefits them, and I'll show you the math why, or I'll show them the math why, and you know I think it's just important, just this whole contest. One thing you can learn is uh, you probably don't know as much as you think you do, and you can always benefit by talking to other people
That's
because
right.
there are other perspectives. And I mean, I'll say that I've grown 20-fold as a Survivor player this year, and I assume that I'll be better in 3 years than I will be next year. And it's just because I'm talking to smart people, like you guys, and some of the people who've gone deep this year, and listening and absorbing content. So,
And David, that's huge because I learn something new every day, and I learned something new about this contest, and I learned something. I'm constantly absorbing and trying to, again, learn from future players that are currently in it now, players in the past, and stuff like that. And so, like, to say I know it all, and I mean, once you think you know it all, you're bypassed, you're done. And so I followed this contest. I continued to stay, in tuned because I'm constantly absorbing and trying to get more information for future years. It's invaluable.
Absolutely. And we've got Casey in the dugout. Let's go ahead and bring him on.
What's up, guys?
Casey from the Real Bro entry, as I said earlier, one of 6 remaining, fighting for $18.72 million. Casey, when I talked to you earlier in the week on my show, Last Men Standing, I asked you to describe with one word how you're feeling. That was your first full day in Vegas after flying in from Texas. You said euphoric was how you were feeling. You're even closer now to kickoff. Give me one word to describe how you're feeling at this moment.
Ooh, anxious, I guess. I'm like, this has been, I mentioned a few weeks ago, like our path from week 15 until now has been pretty much set. Short of injury, short of, anything happened, like it was going to be these 4 teams or 5 teams or whatever it ended up being. So my work's been done for a while. My job for the last, week has been to try to figure out the right number to hedge, figure out how I want to do it, find some juice-free bets where I can kind of maximize the earn for myself. Our group policy is pretty much like do your own stuff. So I've been trying to, shop for myself pretty much and my own interests and however much I want to have on the game. But other than like the picking stuff, I've been done for a while. So now I've been waiting for this moment for a month now. So it's a day away. I'm excited. I'm ready to go there. But like, I didn't sleep last night. I'm probably not going to sleep again tonight. So good thing it's at 10 a.m.
Hey, you know what, Casey? You have the rest of your life to sleep. Congratulations for getting here. I see you're in the Circa room there. And you're here week 18. It means something. And fortunate enough, I've been there. And you know what? Enjoy the moment. It was very surreal for me. And I think about those times now. But in the moment, I was so laser focused and trying to stay on the task at hand, regardless if it was the team I picked or what our hedge number was, or if we were trying to cut an equity deal or whatever it was. But I promise you, like, it's a great moment to even be here, and even better, like if you can cross the finish line. We're all rooting for you, and it's fantastic. But just soak it up, enjoy it, but just stay focused. And man, congratulations for getting here and get it done, man.
Thanks, man. That's pretty much been my idea for the last couple of weeks. Is like I've had big spots in gambling before, nowhere near this big. But like I always regretted not enjoying the moment more, not like fully savoring what that moment was. And then you try to think back on the moment, you're like, well, I didn't really get all of it that I wanted to get out of it. Like one reason I'm doing all these podcasts is like I want to be able to look back on this and see how I felt, see what my strategy was, have this record of how I felt in the moment, what I was thinking in the moment, and be able to like appreciate this, 5-10 years down the road when I can look back on this moment. That's a huge moment for me, and fully appreciate what it was like in the moment. And that's been my focus for, almost since 2 or 3 weeks, since it got down to 10. I would say that's my focus has been on, just fully enjoying it and, try to make the most out of the situation.
Casey, you're obviously a math guy. You've got a poker background, but I was talking to you a little bit today at Circa. I know you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan as well. So you do know ball as well. Whether you add that to your decision making or not is maybe a different story. But as you look at this game, obviously the Jaguars are a big favorite. Obviously they're expected to win. Is there anything on the field that maybe makes you a little nervous, a matchup or a scenario that sort of like gives you any pause about this game? We know it's the NFL. We know there's no sure thing in Survivor. So what are your thoughts about the matchup itself?
It's still the Jaguars. Like, at the end of the day, it's still a team that's never done anything.
Yep.
A team that's known for never doing anything. It's still the Jaguars. I mean, the Titans have looked better over the last couple of weeks. But, I've said it before in the podcast, like, the line is the line for me. And I try not to overthink things. Like, if the line settles that Jaguars are 84% to win, then I just assume that they're 84% to win. I've had, we've all been in poker spots where you're, 80, you have an 80-20. Sometimes you lose. That's what it is. It doesn't mean that you got it in bad. It just means that 20% hit. And obviously the 14% or whatever it is can hit this week, and that'll suck and it'll be very expensive, but, did what I could.
Absolutely. Obviously the money would be great to win this thing, but there's also some prestige that comes along with this. We talk about the blue jacket. We talk about the fact that you're a Circa Survivor champion, which, by the way, if people don't know, you also won in 2020. Much smaller prize pool, a lot more winners. So this is a very different situation. But what would being a 2-time Circa Survivor champion mean for you?
It would be a lot. I'm not going to lie. Like, this is my favorite form of gambling. I love it. I love every part of it. I think it's really cool that this has become, like, there's nothing even close to the magnitude and the prestige of this event, right? This is like the biggest one. It's got the biggest prize pool. It has the sharpest players. Being able to, if things go well and we win, being able to say that I've won it twice or, chopped twice in 5 years or whatever it is, that's fucking awesome, man. That's honestly, it would be the biggest accomplishment of my gambling career. And, obviously, like, I'm not on the field. I'm not, making the plays. It's not like I'm out there, picking off Brock Purdy or whatever. But like, it's for a gambler, like, it's an accomplishment. So I'm into it.
I want to ask the three of you guys a question, kind of comparing this contest to poker. It's sort of a funny question, but work with me here. I know that poker styles have kind of changed over the years, right? Like, I know when the Power Poker book came out, everybody was kind of playing that way. And then new poker players come in and they have a different style. Is it possible that we see an evolution one day with the way that Circa Survivor players are playing? And online, we see an evolution with how people are announcing their picks now. That's one small example. Or is it like, no, Tony, the math is the math. People are always going to go for EV. That's not really going to change as we move on. We'll start with you, David. Do we see any evolution of how people play this contest moving forward?
Yeah, well, first of all, congrats, Casey. Awesome that you're here. We haven't talked yet, but I think you won, I don't know, maybe 7 figures the week that I was on and had to leave early and you were on, and you got to be the sole Jags week 18. I mean, that just locked you up a lot of money in this particular situation. So obviously that was extremely well played.
And
But,
David
Tony-
called it out that day. He's like, the big winner is Real Bro, who now weeks ahead said now week 18 is in a beautiful hedge spot. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing about poker is, so there was a time where if you're not a poker player, you're not going to understand some of the things I'm about to say, but where it was, it was like small raise, small re-raise, small re-raise, and then it got to big bets, and then it got to, like, everything is constantly changed. And with Survivor now that some people have taken more of an EV approach or a leverage understanding, now it comes down to, now there will be times where you're going to want to take what we think is going to be the favor because there's too many people that are leveraging or too many people that are taking the immediate EV versus the longer term EV. We saw people who put themselves in bad positions in holiday games. They got rewarded because the right underdogs won. But we could be sitting here having a completely different conversation had the underdogs not won on the holidays, which is going to happen a large majority of the time. And you're going to have people who would have said, I can't believe that these players just punted on a 7-point favorite that they had available. It's like everything just kind of takes on its own. But I think really the projection game is really gonna kind of force you to constantly be evolving, just because as soon as people start doing one thing, and then it's just going to change the actual picks, where it's going to make some plays that look bad more profitable, and vice versa. So I think that it's just a constant evolution, and that's one thing that I've really tried to focus on. Even though I haven't done a good job in some of the aspects on Survivor, I have done a good job of really listening and trying to get a feel what the community out there is doing, and using that information. Now it's just figuring out how to use it in a way that Casey and C3 Picks and Galen and these guys have done to do it efficiently and do it effectively.
Casey or Mike, anything you guys want to add to that? We don't need to beat a dead horse.
Well, listen, when the money comes, the sharks follow, like for sure. And in poker, like, there was the early days where there was a lot of EV for certain players, and then the math guys got involved. And then, as David said, like, whether it's, 2.5, 3.5 bets, those type of things, the game evolves. And then there's some snapback to that. And I remember when this first started in 2020, COVID year, we weren't involved. My partner and I was not. He was out of the country at the time. And we just didn't get involved with COVID. We had played some Survivor pools offline through Office Pool and some other back channel places. And we always kind of had a secret sauce that we felt was plus EV, if you will, or just, good game theory, whatever it was. And then we played it in 2021 and we made a deep run. I think we finished within the top 200, and we didn't even max out the first year because we just entered. And then we realized, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of dead money in here. And we felt like we needed to max this out and just give it a shot. Didn't mean we'd win it. You still have to get to the end. There is still a lot of luck involved. Your teams actually have to win and get to the finish line. You could put yourself in the best position and yet your team won't win because this is the NFL. So you just try to maximize your position. And then fortunately enough, in 2022, we made that run and we got across the finish line and we were like, wow. But we've seen this contest continuously grow, not only in numbers, but it grows in the type of participants. And we could tell, we can feel when we make our plays, when we try to analyze where the public's going to be, the pick percentages and those different things. And you saw that during Thanksgiving. You just saw how many sharps were willing just to, whatever they had to do to be on the other side. And in order to win, you have to be willing to die. But you're going to make headway to win this thing outright. So you could play this thing perfectly and you still can't win. And sometimes you can take those sharp plays and still can't win. And so, but we can see that this pool has not only grown in the size, but it's also grown in the type of players that are participating. And I think it's the best. As it goes forward, we're going to be playing Survivor versus the best Survivor players in the world. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Are we expecting to see, we know the number of professional poker players in this thing has grown year after year. I would imagine with Galen doing podcasts and all these guys talking about it, seeing their friends have success, the few that aren't in it yet, I think we're going to see an even bigger influx next year. Am I wrong?
For sure. I want to ask Casey a question that I don't know if anybody here is thought of, or hopefully it's appropriate, but I think that on Christmas was a very interesting thing that happened, and everybody was announcing picks, and then all of a sudden Christmas, everybody was tight-lipped, and the 5 players who didn't have Dallas, and you did have Dallas, if I remember correctly, the five players perfectly distributed their picks 1 and 4 as to make it as low a EV as possible for the Dallas Pickers. Um, does that have, are you 100% kosher with that, or did you have an issue with that, or is that just kind of you understand, the theory? What was your thought on Christmas when the whole thing went down where 4 were on Minnesota and only 1 was on Washington, so you lost all your direct leverage on that game?
So it was weird to me that there were no picks announced before the morning of, because the previous week that people were announcing picks throughout the week, right? And nobody from, not that they would like have any reason to, but people were just doing it. People were going on podcasts saying, oh, we're taking the Eagles or whatever. Nobody did it. And the picks weren't announced until the morning. So when I woke up, it felt weird, like something was up. And then I found out and I was like pretty shocked, but I think I figured out what was going on within 10 or 15 minutes. It's kosher to me. Like, they had no outs. Like, this was the only way for them to improve their EV as a group. It made the most sense. They take the entry that has the worst future and they put them on Washington. So if Washington wins, they scoop everything right there, assuming Minnesota loses, right? They put everything right there. They scoop and however they did their deal. I know everybody's like, well, I don't know if there's a deal. There's obviously a deal. Okay, that's
Obviously.
yes. It's the most obvious thing in the world. It's fine. People make deals with Survivor. It's fine. It was their best way to improve their EV as a group and the individuals. I would imagine that it was Galen and the C3 group that were pushing it. They seem to have the most experience. They seem to have the most understanding of how EV is transferred. It also took a bit of creative thinking to come up with that solution. So
For sure.
huge props to them. Like they found themselves in a tough spot and were able to work their way out of it. It sucked for us. It cost us 6 to 7 figures in EV,
Right.
but they played it well. So I have no beef with that. They found a creative solution for their problem. I think the optics get a little bit tricky for people who aren't in Survivor and don't understand that, like, this is kind of how things work, because it basically looks like a bunch of people teaming up, and it's not like I think the romanticized version of Survivor is that you just make your 20 picks and you get to the end and you get all the glory and all the money or whatever. But there's too much on the line. That's not how it works. And this is more close to TV Survivor than people think it is. And as a player, like, yes, we lost a bunch of EV on it, but it was cool to see. Like, I can respect that. And it honestly, like, it opened my eyes to a few things and how things could be set up for in the future if I'm ever in that spot. For us, it made no sense for us to form any sort of alliance. Like, among the Dallas entries, we had the nuts. It was us and Juicy Coochie. It basically had the nuts. Juicy Coochie would have been alone with Pats in 17, and we would have been alone on Jags in 18. So for us, it didn't really matter. We gained nothing by having an alliance with the other teams that have a lower EV or whatever. But for that group, it made perfect sense. So, I have no problem with it. They played it well. I learned something. Cost us a bunch of money, but hey, here we are.
I would have probably answered it the same way, but I was curious if you were going to take more of a politically correct line or more of a actual what you thought, because I would have thought the same thing. I would have been like, what the fuck at first, and then been like, okay, respect. Like if you would have been in that situation and you would have been approached, I'm sure you would have been like, well, yeah, obviously this makes the most sense, because obviously we've been talking the whole time, and even Galen came on and said, and I think multiple players had said, look, it's the Washington players versus the Dallas players. And, it doesn't really matter what path I'm on if, it's the same path as the Dallas player, because that's going to work itself out. But then it ended up where, they went ahead and made that play, which I appreciate you actually being honest and answering that question. It's because it is. I mean, it's totally blind to just cover your eyes and just be like, oh no, I don't know if there was, I mean, obviously, like there's no possible way that though, because if there was no deal, then they made a massive EV blunder and they would never do that.
Yeah. Galen's too smart for that. I knew that the C3 group was like actively networking. They were one of the first people that talked to us, even though, our EVs didn't really interact how we saw it playing out from a few weeks before Christmas. So I knew that they were very active. From my interactions with Chris, he seemed like a very sharp guy. He's had experience getting deep in this thing. So, they're very smart to figure it out the way that they did. And huge props to them, even though it, cost us some money. Nice play.
Casey, in our last few minutes here, walk me through your morning or what you think your morning is going to be like. We know kickoff is obviously at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You said you're not going to sleep. I don't know if that was half joking or you literally might get 0 hours of sleep, but what time do you plan on waking up if you sleep? What time do you plan on rolling into the sports book? Like, walk me through your morning.
So I barely slept last night. I'll probably sleep a few hours tonight, if that. I plan on being down there. Let's see, game start at 10. I plan on being down there at like 9. We have a bunch of people sweating with us. A bunch of people are flying in from Texas. Like I said earlier, I want to fully appreciate the atmosphere. I want to soak it all in.
Yeah.
I don't want to show up late. I'll have some other bets that are unrelated to Survivor that I could set up when I'm down there. But I just want to experience the full feeling of everything. I came up here now from sweating the Niners Seahawks game. The atmosphere was crazy, and there's compared to tomorrow, there's nothing on the line for the sports book. Tomorrow there's the Circa Millions or Survivor. I just want to experience it all. So I'll be there early. I'll be trying to set up. I have a few hedge ideas as far as parlays with other teams. Maybe taking some juice-free bets with other people. Try to get set up so when the time comes, I can fully appreciate it, and then make sure that I'm sober enough when the late game comes around to make any adjustments that we need to make. I think the Pats is the only game that'll be on in the late slate, so there's possible implications for however many people got knocked out. Possibly making some deals if we're still in and Galen's team is still in and others have been eliminated. But yeah, I just want to enjoy the full thing. This is likely the biggest sweat that I'll ever have in a football game. I'll have somewhere close to over 500K or $1 million on my game. And that's insane to me to have this on a Tennessee Jacksonville game or whatever. That's so fucking insane to me. Even hedged out, even with everything. It has not sunk in that I'm going to be sweating for that much money tomorrow.
Yeah. So Casey, if I could give you any advice, well, first and foremost, it's going to be nuts. And not only is it going to be nuts for you, it's going to be nuts for Derek. It's going to be nuts for Jeff and all. And they're hoping you're going to win because they're taking bets on the other side and hoping that you win. So they have some skin in the game themselves as well. That said, and you're smart enough to know this, have all your plays ready so that there's no emotion involved. And it's just the mechanic thing, and you have a partner or somebody there to help you execute it. And that way you're not emotional. And it's just everything that you've done is in place and ready to go, regardless of which team wins, which team loses, and which team, obviously, then you get to the 1:00 games, that it's all mechanical and not emotional. And I'm sure you're smart enough to figure this out and you have it down, but just execute it and enjoy the moment. It's when emotions get involved, when things get a little hairy.
I'm very fortunate in that I have a bunch of leaks as far as a professional gambler, but I don't bring emotion into anything really. I just kind of train that out of my brain to whether you're upset, sad, whatever, the number is the number. And I'll be ready. I'll have my stuff prepared tonight. And if something's a play, then it is. And if it's not, then it's not. And I'm just there to make the best decision when I can and hope to bring in a winner.
I'm gonna sign off, but I want to say congrats to Casey, and I assume that I don't think we've ever met playing poker, but I assume you'll be out there, playing some stuff now that you've going to be infusing your bankroll with even more. So hopefully we'll see you more out there. And if you see me out there at a tournament, World Series, WPT, whatever, come introduce yourself, say hello, remind me, and shake hands and have a nice little conversation.
Absolutely, man. I really enjoy your Twitter posts, and you're one of the few ball knowledge guys on Twitter that I actually enjoy following. So I'll definitely introduce myself.
Good
Appreciate
stuff.
you
All right.
guys.
Take care, David. Appreciate you
Take
taking
care,
the
Thanks,
time.
guys. Bye.
See you, David.
I think we can sign off to one last question before we go, though, fellas. The game's tomorrow. I'm going to recap it. 2 Minnesota, 1 New England, 1 Cincinnati, 1 Atlanta, 1 Jacksonville. I'm going to take Jacksonville and Atlanta off the board because Jacksonville is Casey's game, and Atlanta is the most obvious answer to this question. Who's more likely to go down, Minnesota, Cincinnati, or New England? And I know the math is the math. I get it. But talk to me a little bit about what would surprise you, what wouldn't surprise you here. We'll start with you, Mike.
Oh, shit. This is the easy one for me.
Okay.
It's the Bengals. I had Joe Burrow in the in the first round of the playoffs, and sometimes he gets disinterested. And there are times they play and you're like, oh my gosh, how can the Bengals not be the best team in the league? And then sometimes things start going awry, and then Jamar Chase's routes don't get as sharp, and T. Higgins peels, and Joe Burrow gets a little disinterested, and I'm not even beginning to talk about how bad their defense is. And so, the Browns are continuously playing, the coach is playing, Shadur's playing. If you told me that the Browns won that game 20-17, whatever. Both of the teams really have nothing to play for. To me, Minnesota, as I had mentioned earlier on the pod, I feel like they want to go into the off season. Both JJ, both their defensive coordinator, they're kind of playing to get to the finish line. For me, Cincinnati can be disinterested at any moment. And for me, like my money would be on Minnesota if I had the option between the Bengals and Minnesota. So that's an easy one for me.
Casey, obviously, if any of these other teams get knocked out, it means a lot more money for you, assuming that Jacksonville wins. Does any one of these other matchups kind of give you hope?
I mean, there's two bad teams, so there's always hope. I would say Bengals are try not to put too much ball knowledge in, but Bengals are always capable of putting up 30-something points. If they put up 30-something points, the Browns can't do that. I mean, no matter how bad that Cincinnati defense is, that Browns offense is so bad that they can't. The Vikings, I feel like we're forgetting that they're just god-awful for half the year. And yes, things are kind of turning around or whatever, but like McCarthy was awful for several games. Things are turning around, but like it's not like they've turned into, the 0-1 Rams or whatever. They're still not a good offensive team.
The 0-1 Rams,
so
yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy that we have the Pats and the Jags are the two good teams that people have played, right? The other ones are not going to be in the playoffs. We have the advantage of having like actual good teams.
Yep.
Yeah. And the other ones, like they're bad football teams. So like bad football teams lose all the time, even when they play other bad football teams. So, I know the Packers have nothing to play for, but they're still a playoff team. Like
division rivalry.
Quarterback aside, like the rest of the roster is good. I'm hopeful. I'll just say that I'm hopeful.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I think we can end it on that hopeful note. We will be rooting for you tomorrow, Casey. I'd imagine this is going to be one of the best days of your life, potentially. So enjoy it. It's going to be one of the most exciting days of your life for sure, either way.
That's
so
sure.
Soak it up, as we've all said on this podcast. Soak it up. You got to do that. Enjoy every second of it. And best of luck tomorrow as you fight for $18.7 million. That possibility is still out there, by the way. It'd take a hell of a math number here, but there is a scenario.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
So
I'd love to see it.
We'll be rooting for you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Yep.
Take care, everybody. Our last episode of the season. We hope you learned something along the way. We hope you enjoyed listening to us. We'll be back next season here on Saturday Night Sweat.